Well, I gotta tell you, there's no new video this week. Why? Because everything fell apart. Last week, Sunday evening, around 6:30, I was on the phone with my parents doing a video call, and then it started to rain. And then it started to rain harder, and then the wind picked up, and then the trees started to move, and then we saw the wind pick up an outdoor carpet and throw a couple of chairs across the patio. And that's when things started to get scary. And we saw branches starting to fall, and we saw the fence get torn down, a tree split in half and fell onto the backstop at the park behind our house, knocking it over. We got hit with a severe thunderstorm. The damage was extensive. Thankfully, we didn't experience any damage on our home, although we lost power, we lost cell service, internet, everything. Driving around the neighborhood was emotional. Seeing trees down on houses, trees going through houses. The extent of the damage was massive. As I'm recording this video, we are actually staying at an Airbnb in the city that we rented so that we could at least have an air-conditioned place to stay, since Alana, my wife, is 9 months pregnant and going to pop at any day now. The power went out pretty quickly before 7 p.m. on Sunday, and it's Friday morning as I'm recording this, and we still don't have power at our house. I'm really hoping it gets turned back on before, because we can't add Saturday night, so hopefully. This morning, as I was walking the dog around this neighborhood that I'm not really that familiar with, a bunch of reflections kind of hit me all at once. I'd call them disruption discussions or displacement discernment if I wanted to be really spiritual, but I just want to share with you 8 things that have been striking me about this. So let's talk about it. The first one is that in an apocalypse situation, nobody would choose me to be on their team. I have no discernible survival skills whatsoever. It's ridiculous. I mean, the minute we lost power, internet, and cell service, I became basically completely useless. I don't hunt, I don't kill things, I wouldn't be able to go out and provide food for my family. I'd have to learn a lot, which immediately increased my respect for people who grow their own food and who grow the food for the rest of us and provide it for society, basically. So yeah, in an apocalypse, I'm not your guy. The second thing that I would say is that patience is thin in the middle of life's huge disruptions. I've noticed that for myself, and I wouldn't speak for my wife or my son, but I think for anybody, when you're going through a stressful situation, when you're knocked way out of your routine, know that your patience is probably going to be really thin, that your fuse is going to be really short. So if you're tempted when living with other people through a disruption, when you're tempted to bite their heads off, know that it's likely not something they're doing that's really the problem. The problem is you're going through it right now, and there's a lot of need for grace for each other. Number 3, decision fatigue is real. I mean, it's really tiring to have to decide every day, where are we going to sleep tonight? What are we going to eat for dinner? How are we going to get food for people's lunches? Should we book a new place? Can we book a new place? Where are we going to go next? What are we going to do here? And all the daily decisions that are automatic when you're living in your normal rhythm of life and you're not going through a major disruption, they become manual decisions that you have to make and remake and think about. And that's exhausting. So I decided this week to just kind of cut as much as I could and keep it simple. So decision fatigue is real. think the fourth thing is that your kids feel it. I mean, maybe your dog too. Whenever you're going through a disruption and there's high anxiety in the home or when you're staying in someone else's home, the kids feel it too. They feel the tension. They feel the tension between you and your partner if you're together in on this, and they feel the tension in their own disrupted schedule. And so there's a huge need for grace and patience and a lot of snuggles and love for your kids too. That's been tough because I'm just trying to maintain my capacity to function in the midst of the disruption, and I gotta be able to do that for my kid too. I'd say another huge challenge, or at least a reflection on this experience, is that usually when you go through something pretty drastic, like we all did with COVID-19, there was a communal sense to this. Like we were all going through this together. But in this power outage, not being able to stay in our home, only a few neighborhoods really got hit hard by this. And so, my wife, none of her coworkers are without power. They all get to stay in their homes. The storm really actually didn't affect where they lived much at all. And that can be hard. It can be challenging to have to feel like you got to defend the fact that you're going through something right now, that you're in the midst of a really big disruption. In a lot of ways, even though you need grace from other people, you end up having to show a lot of grace to people because they don't necessarily get that you're going through stuff right now. One of the other things we've noticed in disruption is how quickly people can escape to family in the area. All of our neighbors have family that they were able to go and stay with, and our friends who lost power were able to go to their in-laws and stay with them. And because of the way that Alana and I have chosen to live our lives, we live really far away from family, and so we've not been able to escape to family at all. And we feel that in these disruptive moments, much like it not being a communal experience with coworkers and everything. It can also be tough to not be able to escape to family. And I don't say that to garner sympathy or anything like that. I mean, we chose this life. We knew what we were getting into. But I say it to just point out, not everybody has family in the area. And this has just reminded me of the plight of a lot of people who go through major disruptions without close family to run to. It kind of breaks my heart for them in these situations too. Number 7 would be this quote from Mr. Rogers that kind of has been ringing in my head almost this entire week now that we've been displaced. And that's that, like, whenever really bad things are happening, look for the good people because you'll always find them. And my neighbor Brandon is a perfect example of one of those good people who's just there to help immediately when people are in need and struggling. He's such a great guy. He's that guy who's out there helping as soon as possible with anybody who's got need. So whenever there's disruptions, you can always kind of look. You'll find a lot of naysayers, a lot of people complaining, but you'll also find good people. My neighbor Brandon's just one of those guys. As soon as he could, he was out there helping people, getting fences back up. He helped me put my fence back up, propped it up, and drilled it into place. Whenever there's something bad going on, look for the good people. I think the last thing I'd say that I've been thinking about is how much of life is not in your control. I think we built our life in a way that we felt insured and insulated against chaos and against disruptions like this. But at the end of the day, no matter how robust you build your life, it's still held up by things that are beyond your control. No matter how robust I build my life up, I don't get to control the wind and the waves. I don't get to control the power lines. I don't get to control the water lines. I rely on these services that are provided by the city or the county that I live in. No matter how much you build the illusion that you're in control of your life, you're never fully in control. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of the lesson of the week for me, is to recognize that I'm not actually in ultimate control of what happens with my life. I can just do the best to be faithful where I am with whatever's going on and trust God with the rest. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.